The biomechanical concept we chose to assess the problem of limited hip flexibility due to an injury is summation and continuity of segment velocities. This concept states that each body segment can contribute to the total endpoint velocity, with motions of the trunk and hip being of utmost importance. If a golfer has limited hip flexibility, they will be unable to generate enough angular velocity to be transferred from one segment to the next. This problem will ultimately hinder trunk, shoulder, and arm rotation, which will impact the projection of the ball.
The kinetic link principle shows that power begins in the trunk and hip. As each segment stops rotating, the velocity is transferred to the next segment distally away from the trunk in order to achieve maximum velocities at an endpoint. A hip injury is going to affect the overall velocity of a golf ball because power begins there and needs to have enough momentum to get the ball to project far and long enough. If maximum power cannot be obtained here, then it will result in less power and less momentum for the ball. Golfers need hip flexibility and full range of motion to have smooth and coordinated movements. Without summation and continuity of segment velocities, the movements will be slow or jerky and result in a poor performance for the golfer.
Alright, so the problem that we're going to use that is relating to human movement in the golf swing is going to be inadequate flexibility in the hips and inadequate strength in the hips. We have an example here of Alexa swinging the golf club, and watch how she sways back and sways through as she has inadequate strength in the hip region. And now we're going to show you how it is when you have adequate flexibility in your hips and adequate strength in your hips. Watch as I turn back and turn through. There's no sway. Alright, now Alexa and I are going to show you a tip to improve your setup to limit strain on your hips. Alright, so we're going to do the improper setup in terms of hip protection and lower back protection versus proper setup. So this was going to be improper setup. She's going to show you. Notice the curve in the spine. She's applying a lot of pressure to her lower back right there. And what that does is it relieves pressure from your hips because she has inadequate strength and flexibility in her hips. But what it's going to do in the long run is it's going to cause a lot of lower back problems. So now she's going to show you proper form. She's just going to bend over from the hips and feel like she's turning her pelvis under her. So what that's going to do is it's going to relieve pressure on the lower back, and it's going to relieve pressure on the hips and give you a much more athletic position.
During the middle stages of growing and hip rehabilitation, the following exercise will help strengthen the muscles. These will be used for most of your rehabilitation process. This exercise is called the bridge. During the bridge, you will lay flat on your back, bend your knees, bring your feet to your buttocks while keeping them flat on the floor, and raise your hips while squeezing your glutes. Be sure to really squeeze your glutes to work the hamstrings and the glutes.
This exercise is called the straight leg raise. During the straight leg raise, you will lay flat on the ground and toes pointed upward. While in this position, you will squeeze both quadriceps and raise your legs in an alternate rotation. Both rectus femoris and iliopsoas muscles will be used. This exercise will strengthen hip flexor muscles. This exercise is called good morning. Good mornings will help strengthen the hip extensor muscles. The muscles worked are the glutes and hamstrings. During this exercise, you will push your hips backwards, slightly bend your knees, and bring your torso to the height of your hips while keeping your back straight and tight. Both the gluteus medius and the gluteus maximus muscles are being worked. Or you say, in order for
projectile of the ball, placing it on the, we call this thing a golf course field.